Make sure you're subscribed to Issues Etc. Type Issues Etc. in your podcast provider, hit that subscribe button, and leave us a 5-star review. This will make it easier for other podcast listeners to find Issues Etc.
The pro-life movement has spent a lot of times in the post-Roe era thinking about and trying to devise ways to slow the spread of chemical abortion. In the meantime, some of the pro-life laws that are already on the books are under assault. How should we respond? Welcome back to Issues Etc. I'm Todd Wilkin, joining to talk about the pro-life movement's blue state problem. Dr. Michael New, he's visiting assistant professor of social research and political science at the Catholic University of America, senior associate scholar at the Charlotte Lozier Institute, Page Comstock Cunningham Fellow with Americans United for Life, and a columnist for National Review Online. Dr. New, welcome back.
Thanks for having me. Much appreciated.
Tell us about this legislation that Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey signed into state law last week.
Sure. That last week, Governor Healey signed a law that basically eliminated all gestational age limits on abortion. Right now in Massachusetts, abortion is legal for any reason throughout all 9 months of pregnancy. So now Massachusetts is one of 10 states and the District of Columbia that has no limits whatsoever on abortion.
She is Roman Catholic. As a fellow Roman Catholic, what are your thoughts in that particular aspect?
Obviously, it's disappointing. I never like to see Catholics take action to make abortion policy more permissive. I am pleased that many Catholic spokespeople have spoken out against this. I would really hope that the Archdiocese of Boston at least release a statement criticizing this action. I think that Maura Healey should not present herself for communion. That I think this is a grave moral sin. Just disappoints me to see a fellow Catholic, again, take some action that would make abortion policy more permissive.
So what other kind of reaction did the governor's action get?
Sadly, from the mainstream media, it was mostly positive. That typically when the media covers abortion, pro-life perspectives don't get much attention. That was certainly the case this time. It got largely sympathetic coverage from most mainstream media outlets. The only criticisms and critiques came from conservative media, Christian media, and pro-life media. So that was disappointing as well.
How is abortion policy faring in other blue states?
We have our work cut out for us. That one story that's kind of gone, I think, underreported is the fact that Massachusetts is not the only state to make, or not the only blue state, I should say, to make its abortion policy more permissive. That Massachusetts, a few years ago, they actually weakened their parental involvement law. So now 16 and 17-year-old girls can obtain an abortion without notifying their parents. Illinois repealed its parental involvement law a few years ago. Virginia repealed its informed consent law and its waiting period. And during the past 10 years or so, 7 state Medicaid programs have started to cover elective abortion. So in 7 states, taxpayers are now paying for elective abortion. So lots of bad things are happening in blue states. Things are increasing the abortion rate, things that are undermining a culture of life, and pro-lifers really need to be aware of that.
These pro-life laws, how in particular have they been undermined in some states?
Well, just a lot of these blue states, they're being repealed. Again, Massachusetts had a parental involvement law. In fact, they're actually one of the first states to have one. Theirs took effect in the early 1980s, and it required that minor girls under 18 had to get permission from their parents before obtaining an abortion. That age was lowered to 15. So again, now 16 and 17-year-old girls in Massachusetts can get abortions without getting permission from their parents. So some of these laws are just being weakened. In some cases, even those states that have gone ahead and passed strong pro-life laws, the presence of telehealth abortions is undermining these laws. That in states like Texas and Mississippi and Alabama, women seeking abortions can go online and get these chemical abortion pills mailed to them. So sometimes just legally these laws are being undermined, and sometimes just the presence of telehealth abortion is undermining these laws elsewhere.
What priorities do pro-lifers need to adopt to protect the unborn then?
Well, we need to obviously keep passing protective laws. I mean, the laws still do some good, even with telehealth undermining them. We have good birth data that shows birth rates go up after these laws are passed. So that does show that some women who would have otherwise had abortions carried their pregnancy to term because of the law. We need to do something to stop telehealth abortions. That is something the Trump administration could do tomorrow if they wanted to. Telehealth was supposed to be temporary during the pandemic. The pandemic is long over. So we're kind of waiting for the Trump administration to do that. There's also legal strategies that some states are pursuing to stop telehealth in their states, and we'll have to kind of wait and see. And we just need to do what we can to build a culture of life elsewhere, that even laws that are incremental do some good. Even those states that can't protect all preborn children, protecting some saves some lives and does some good.
I live in Illinois. What can pro-lifers in a blue state like Illinois do?
I mean, pro-lifers in blue states have their work cut out for them. But one thing I will say is that, I don't care where you are or what you're doing, there's always things you can do to build a culture of life. I was actually just in California last month giving talks to a couple pro-life groups. And one thing I told them is that since the mid-1980s, the abortion rate in California fell by like 60%. And this is without changing public policy all that much. So laws are important, but there's other things we can do. We can always pray. We can sidewalk counsel. We can educate our friends and our peers. We can fund and support pro-life pregnancy centers. All these things do make a difference. So laws are important. Public policy is important. But volunteer efforts are important as well, and pro-lifers shouldn't forget that.
Dr. Michael New is visiting assistant professor of social research and political science at the Catholic University of America, senior associate scholar at the Charlotte Lozier Institute, Page Comstock Cunningham Fellow with Americans United for Life, and a columnist for National Review Online. You can read his columns at issuesetc.org. Click the Talk On Demand archives. Dr. New, thanks.
Thanks for having me. Much appreciated.
Lutherans for Life has produced resources on IVF, abortion, adoption, end-of-life issues, and more. Find these free resources at lutheransforlife.org, lutheransforlife.org. When we come back, we'll talk about God's solution for shame with Dr. John Kleinig.
It's also a confirmation of what the church has proclaimed for millennia, that we are not made to be alone, but we are made for covenant.
Sociologist Dr. Brad Wilcox speaking at this year's Issues Etc. Making the Case conference.
So give today's young men and women the truth that they deserve. Pursue marriage, pursue it with intention, and pursue it in your 20s, when the window is widest and the possibilities most open. The road ahead, of course, is not easy, but it leads somewhere worth going, and you, 20-somethings here, were made for this journey.
You can watch and listen to Dr. Brad Wilcox making the case for 20-something marriage from the 2026 Making the Case conference. For a $250 gift by Labor Day, we'll send you a link to video and audio recordings of the entire conference. Learn more at issuesetc.org.
Defending life from beginning to end. You're listening to Issues, Etc.
This fallen creation is bested by tornado, hurricane, flood, pandemic, and more. LCMS Disaster Response helps our congregations, their pastors, and other church workers to reach out to their members and neighbors with mercy which flows from Christ to altar. We offer quality volunteer training, help for congregational readiness and response, and disaster grant funding. To learn more, visit lcms.org/disaster. That's lcms.org/disaster.